Wouldn't you like to know exactly how the economy is going to play out in 2022? I'm glad you asked, and I'm about to show you how. Hey folks, thank you for watching. I'm Wayne Turner, and I want to tell you just a little bit about and explain to you briefly what the Fed is going to do to tackle such rapid inflation that we've seen over the last year. And how will this economy play out over the next 6 months to a year into 2022. But before we jump in, if you don't mind, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe to the channel. That way you never miss a video that we produce. And always comment, let us know what you think and what more of these sorts of videos you'd like to have us produce. So I have a question for you. Have you noticed how everything has gone up? Houses, cars, clothes, food. I mean, everything has gone up. And have you also noticed that everyone's hiring? Like everywhere you look, there's a sign that says now hiring, now hiring. I've never really noticed that. And not only are they hiring, but they're paying way more per hour than ever before. $15, $16 an hour, literally at a lot of the fast food restaurants. So just how will the Federal Reserve and the United States government slow down the economy from everything going up? I mean, that's known as inflation. Everything's going up. Well, you see, the Federal Reserve, also known as the central banking system for the United States of America, just announced exactly what it's going to do to put the brakes on this rapidly increasing consumer pricing, inflated economy. But in order to look at what they're going to do to trim it back, what they're going to do to slow down the economy, we have to look at what on earth did they do to stimulate the economy? How literally over a period of a year, how did it roll and move this fast? First, they lowered the federal funds rate. Now the federal funds rate, they lowered that rate, and by lowering the rate, that's the interest that banks and the Federal Reserve loan each other, and they've taken that down substantially. So by lowering that, it basically frees up more money. Subsequently, they also began pumping, get this, $120 billion every month into the U.S. economy. What? Yep, you heard right. $120 billion a month.
What did he say?
They basically started pumping and pushing into the U.S. economy. So how did they do this? They did this by purchasing mortgage-backed securities and treasuries. Now, if you may have heard the term mortgage-backed securities, and what a mortgage-backed security is it's basically a bundle of home loans that the federal government, the Federal Reserve, is purchasing from banks. So it's just a conglomerate of these loans, and they're called mortgage-backed securities. And by doing so, they're guaranteeing these loans. Now, so this is how that helps. When the bank buys the mortgage-backed securities, it frees money up for the banks to loan more money, which pushes more money out into the U.S. economy, so people can borrow more money and more money gets pushed out. As for treasuries, it's basically the federal government buying bonds. And when they're buying bonds, they're swapping out bonds for money, which that money is then pushed into the economy, which stimulates the economy. And once again, this literally guarantees loans, which pushes money back, which once again to consumers and stimulates the economy. Did I say stimulate the economy? I think I did a couple of times.
I don't find you funny.
Now, as I mentioned in my previous video, will it continue? Inflation crisis 2022. I talk a little bit about how the cost of consumer goods has gone up to 6.2%, which is, by the way, an absolute record. We haven't seen that in literally over 30 years. Now, just as fast as the Federal Reserve and the government put the gas, dropped the hammer to stimulate the economy, now they got to put the brakes on it so it doesn't go off the cliff. So, speaking of hitting the gas, if you don't mind, hit that thumbs up button and let's YouTube and me know that we're doing a good job. And hey, don't forget to comment and let us know what other videos you would like for us to share with you. So how will the government, we know what they've done to put money back into the economy. So how will $120 billion a month, isn't that crazy? So how will they stop it? How are they going to slow it? How are they going to, they're going to slow down this warp speed? Well, to start, it's real simple. They're going to raise interest rates. And they simply do this by selling off the bonds that they've purchased. Remember, they purchased bonds which freed up cash? Well, now they flip it in reverse. Now they're selling the bonds that they purchased, which by selling those bonds, it increases the interest rate. Another way they can do it is they can literally raise the reserves that a bank has to keep in the Federal Reserve Bank. So in other words, when they take money from depositors, there's a certain amount that they have to keep in reserves. So once they raise that reserve, that's another way to slow the economy. Now, how they do this, for example, is let's just take the bank gets a $1,000 deposit. So the bank gets a $1,000 deposit, but the Federal Reserve says, well, you have to have 5% in reserves at the Federal Reserve Bank. So if the bank gets a $1,000 deposit at 5%, they've got to put $50, they've got to hold $50. So that leaves the bank only loaning out $950. So you can see how if it's 5, 7, 10, as that increases, banks have to have more money held in reserves, and that means that's less money for them to lend, and that slows down the economy. Now, another way is simply influencing consumer behavior by making simple announcements that they've acknowledged that the economy is moving quick and rapidly. And by doing so, what typically happens right after that is they raise interest rates. Now, as bondholders hear this, they begin to sell off their bonds to prevent a potential financial loss. Now, as investors sell off their bonds, the prices go down and the interest rates go up. So you can see how literally just making an announcement, the people that own bonds, they sell their bonds and the prices of those bonds go down, which causes the interest rate to go up. So where does all this come from? Well, the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, said that we should anticipate seeing at least 3 interest rate jumps, spikes, increases going into 2022. We got to raise rates. It's happening. It's coming. At the end of the day, they're just having to do it because after they announced that everything is recovered, the economy has recovered much faster than they anticipated. And listen, they started seeing this whenever everybody needed help. There was job openings everywhere. That was the first real telltale sign that they started really watching the economy and how it's going to play out. And so in doing so, they're saying that they're going to make the first interest rates jump, hike, increase around March of 2022. Now, here's the deal. Such fast inflation, when it's moving that fast, it can absolutely impose a huge financial hardship on a lot of Americans. And listen, there's no denying it. We've all seen it at the gas pump, houses, cars, clothes, out to eat. Everything has gone up. Everything costs more. And it's literally happened what feels like overnight. It's just been a year and a half. Now, based on statistical data, the Federal Reserve is telling us that we are in the worst. Like this is like they're putting on the brakes. We're at 6.2% increase in the cost of consumer goods, all that stuff. And they're basically saying this is the worst. Like we're putting on the brakes and we're seeing it's going to level off. But you're probably wondering, what about stimulus checks? Well, I'm glad you asked. On that, Chairman Powell also announced that stimulus checks were going to stop. Absolutely stop. However, 26 states have already stopped that back in the summer of 2020. They've already stopped it. However, there are many states that are still doing that and still participating in unemployment benefits. So to sum it up, what does this mean? That means that interest rates are going to go up, and in my prediction, I've seen it many times over the decades of selling real estate. When interest rates go up, people realize, oh my goodness, rates are going up. We may want to get off the fence and make that purchase. And it actually does a backwards effect. It kind of stimulates the economy. So watch, you'll see that. Now, what we run into as far as real estate is we're seeing it all around the country that it's basically supply and demand, and there's not a whole lot of supply of houses. Not a whole lot of people have started moving, and they basically have just jumped on the wagon of I'm staying at home and I'm refinancing. We've seen a ton of people refinance their properties because the rates are so low, and they're staying in their houses much longer than they have before. Now, does that mean it's a bad time to buy a car, house, boat, whatever it may be? Not necessarily, and here's the reason why. Whenever you buy a house or usually buy a big ticket item, you're going to keep that item 3 to 4 to 5 or 6 years. The cost of the money is still astronomically, ridiculously low. It's crazy low, 3.25%. It's just unheard of. Now, I mentioned in this video raising rates. I will tell you that they're talking about raising rates, and you're probably thinking, well, how much are the rates? How high are they going to raise? Based on what I'm hearing and just learning and listening and reading and watching, it's not really going to be, we're not going to see much more than 4.25%. I'd be really shocked, but it wouldn't be the first time if we've seen over a 1% jump within a year. But that's just my prediction. So listen, I hope you like this video. If there's anything we can ever do, let us know. Give us a shout out. If you're looking to purchase a house anywhere around the country, we have a referral network of, you wouldn't believe, real estate agents and mortgage brokers as well. So anything we can do to help, just let us know. I'm Wayne Turner. Thank you. And once again, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, give us a comment, and of course subscribe as we continue to bring more helpful videos to you. Have a good day.